If the Quran is truly a divine revelation, why didn't it mention artificial intelligence? Isn't this proof that it's outdated? Humans imitate, but Allah creates from nothing.
Dr. Zakir, my boss is agnostic. He doesn't believe in religion, but he asked me a question I would like to pass on to you. He said, "Look, the Quran claims to be an eternal book, valid for all generations, but why doesn't it talk about artificial intelligence? Today, AI controls many things. It can create videos, write articles, replace doctors, judges, and even teachers. If the Quran is truly a divine revelation, why didn't it mention such a major development? Isn't this proof that the Quran belongs to an ancient time and cannot address modern challenges?"
First, we must understand one essential thing. The Quran is not a book of science, it is a book of signs. If Allah had included every scientific discovery, every mathematical equation, every law of physics, and every technological invention, the Quran would not be a book. It would be an infinite library. Imagine if it had to mention Newton's laws, Einstein's theories, electricity, computer science, molecular biology, and now artificial intelligence. It would be so massive that no human could ever read it. The purpose of the Quran is not to replace human libraries. Its role is not to be an encyclopedia, but a divine guide. It teaches humanity how to live, how to worship Allah, and how to stay on the straight path. But this does not mean the Quran ignores science. On the contrary, it contains many verses about the sky, the creation of al-insan, water, stars, and even embryology. And everything it states is accurate. Here is the fundamental rule. Everything the Quran says is true, and science will never contradict it. In fact, in many cases, science has only discovered truths that the Quran mentioned centuries ago. These are what we call scientific miracles. But Allah does not list every human invention. He gives signs, not an encyclopedia. Let's take a powerful example. Years ago, people criticized Islamic law. They said, "Why doesn't Sharia accept video as primary evidence in court? Cameras don't lie." Many believed video was more reliable than human testimony. But Islam says video can be secondary evidence, but never primary. Human testimony remains superior. At that time, people mocked this ruling. But today, with AI, we see the wisdom, because now AI can generate completely fake videos. A person can be shown committing crimes they never did. Today, even judges and courts are starting to doubt video evidence. Exactly what Islam had already anticipated 1400 years ago. This is the difference between human law and divine law. Humans believe their technology is perfect until its limits are exposed. But Allah already knows the future. So why doesn't the Quran mention AI directly? Because its purpose is to be universal and timeless. If it mentioned the internet, people of the past would not understand. If it mentioned rockets, computers, or electric cars, every generation would ask, why didn't it mention what came after? The Quran is not a list of inventions. It is a message of eternal principles, and these principles apply to every era. Even in the age of artificial intelligence, that is its miracle. Despite centuries of change, it remains relevant, correct, and superior. So the absence of AI in the Quran is not a weakness. It is a sign of its wisdom. Dr. Zakir, the Quran often asks us to reflect, observe creation, and think deeply about ourselves. In Surah An-Nahl, Allah invites us to consider our own existence. So my question is, can this be understood as an encouragement for simulation? In other words, does the Quran inspire us to use our abilities to imitate certain human functions and create tools like artificial intelligence that can benefit humanity? My brother, this is a very interesting question. Yes, the Quran repeatedly doubt us to think. Allah says, do they not reflect? Do they not use their intellect? This means a believer is not only someone who worships, but also someone who thinks, researches, and observes creation. The Quran encourages us to use our intelligence, and yes, this includes technology. The history of Islam proves it. Muslim scholars excelled in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and architecture. This progress was inspired by reflection and the pursuit of knowledge. So, yes, observing human functions can inspire innovation. When we study the eye, we create cameras. When we study memory, we create storage devices. When we study speech, we create voice recognition systems, but there is a crucial difference. Humans imitate, but Allah creates from nothing. Artificial intelligence is limited. It only does what it is programmed to do. But the human brain is a creation of Allah, with consciousness, freedom, and a soul. No machine can ever match that. The Quran has a unique beauty. One verse can speak at multiple levels. For a poet, it is a linguistic miracle. For a scientist, it contains deep truths. For a believer, it is guidance and light. That is why the Quran transcends time. It was a miracle in the age of poetry, and it remains a miracle in the age of science and AI. Yes, the Quran encourages reflection. Yes, it can inspire technological development, but with one condition: it must remain within ethics and justice, because technology without values becomes dangerous. AI can be used for good or for harm, but true guidance will never come from machines. It will always come from the creator of both humans and machines.